Welcome back, everyone. We're back. I like this background. I haven't used it for a while. Throwback, Richard Hart, Throne. I believe this originally came from Staked Wealth. And when he came on for a stream a long time ago. And then it originally came from, was it the Pulse Doge? One of the Pulse Doge people made this one. So shout out to them. Pretty awesome background. Every once in a while, I'll put it up here. When we're going through a stream, we go through a glory. We want glory in the stream. And hopefully that's what, I don't know. There's been some rumblings around the Doge going after the SEC for fraud, waste, and abuse type things. I thought I'd take Zenith for a ride on the show to come back and talk all fun things like that. Welcome back to the show, Zenith. How's it going?
Always a pleasure to be with you, my man. How we doing?
We are the Doge, the big bad Doge.
Good one.
Government efficient inefficiency. That's the theme song. You know, when I think of a Dog the Bounty Hunter, I think of South Park. Now, funny how that works.
Oh, that one episode.
Yeah. Dog. Yeah, they do the whole theme song.
There's that one. I also see a lot of Instagram reels about like Harley riders kind of acting just like tools, and then I immediately think about the South Park episode where they make fun of that one.
So Harleys.
Like, yeah.
That's a good one.
Around. True. Well, thanks for having me back. I promise I will try not to get too much on political soapboxes about personal opinion and try to keep it grounded and use some actual sources. But outside of that,
a lot of sources to cite today and numbers. That's what I've heard.
We do have a lot of numbers to talk about today.
Yeah. Well, at least for the context for people too, if you've been living under a rock for the past 24 hours in Mexico, this account happened. And then immediately everyone's like, they should go and look into Richard Hart case. And then boom, we just got time. We'll go over a few of these as well in a bit, but the community jumped on it, started sending DMs, started replying to the tweet, letting the people know. There's mine as well. Letting the people know that, fraud, waste, and abuse, go find it after persecuting people who don't need persecuted, that type of thing. So that's the thing too. I think there's so many different angles of how, the case gets settled, dismissed, partially dismissed, goes away, whatever. And to me, I see this as like a new opportunity of like, wow, here's another place to funnel I don't want to say grievances, but be like, stop doing this, stop it, stop and help us stop doing good, start doing better stuff, government, suck less government. And the Doge organization seems to be funneling people at things to make stuff better. So what was your first, maybe start with that too, like what was your reaction to, maybe even frame it too, like what is Doge? Why is there a Doge SEC account? And like, is this relevant to us? Like, do you actually think we're gonna get some traction here?
For sure. So I guess from the top, for people that have been living with their head under a rock, so to speak, or probably at least touching grass more than us, Doge is effectively Donald Trump as the president, utilizing executive authority to go and audit all of the federal executive agencies. And instead of doing it himself, because obviously he's the president, he has better things to do, he's appointed Elon Musk as the head of it. So there actually was an executive order titled Establishing and Implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency. And that's where that's the one where it actually talks about how they're going to start setting it up, start going through everything, talking about agencies, agency heads, the structure, that kind of stuff. Yep, there she is. Perfect. So that's the head of it. The question of, in my personal opinion, this whole saga has been a very interesting story on the theater of politics and also the power games of politics, which is that this is actually not the first time this has ever happened before. There have been numerous presidents throughout the past that have actually tried to use very similarly named things about government efficiency to audit the government and try to find waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's largely what Doge is doing. And at the same time, it's also looking to promulgate ideas to President Trump about how he can effectively use executive authority to cut certain spending in areas. One of the key issues that people run into is that obviously Congress has the power of the purse, which is that Congress is the only one that can write the checks. But if you also look further into the Constitution, the president is the sole executor of the executive agency, which means that they are in charge of faithfully executing the laws and duties given to them, and that includes spending the checks. So theoretically, there are times when the president can, in good faith, look at an agency and say, I think this agency is misabusing these funds, therefore I can hold up these funds. Can't create new funds, but he can withhold funds. So that's what we see a lot of. In particular, the CFPB is a good example of that. For folks, that is the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. That is an executive agency that actually is somewhat independent and private and is only accountable to the presidency, is not accountable to Congress because they actually don't get their money from Congress. They get it from the Federal Reserve. That's a whole other rabbit hole we can talk about later if we want. But it's stuff, I know, believe me, it's stuff like that where it's like these tools have been created in the past to allow the president to flex his presidential muscle and really just effectuate his will and how he wants to carry out the duties of the office. Now that it's someone who wants to curtail all these powers and kind of rein it back in, it seems that all you have to do is just hit the stop button and it pretty much stops. So that's what we got for that. As far as what we're looking at here on the screen, this is the Doge SEC Twitter account. Doge has actually set up a handful of other Twitter accounts for a lot of the other federal agencies that they've been auditing. And similar to this message that we have here, it's pretty much just a cry for help or just an open invitation to DM them, tag them, show them anything and everything you want to show them. So that way they at least have an idea of where to go look. Because the idea is that if the federal agencies are misbehaving, they're probably not going to tell on themselves. Therefore, you probably need some whistleblowers or you need some public input or opinion to find out where you want to be looking. But outside of that, yeah, they are moving fast, very fast, and they are covering a lot. Notably, the Doge SEC one here was absolutely flooded with hexagons. This is one of the big ways that we can really flex our community muscles and show that we have a significant presence on Twitter from what I'm seeing. It could also just be my curated feed because I also follow a lot of other hexagons, but a lot of people have been talking to the SEC about, hey, if you want to stop waste, fraud, and abuse, this Richard Hart case might be a good place to look.
Yeah, and that's the, I think there's two interesting angles, and I talked about this where I reposted, was it PLS Validator's tweet on this too. Let me find it for a second. I'll pull it up. But he was talking about how, hey, like if you want to be effective here, talk about how they're wasting so much money too, because like Doge's thing is like we're trying to stop waste. We may even get stimulus checks. Who knows? We're gonna make so much money back. We're gonna give it back to the people. So is there a path for making this? For making a case that if nothing else, let's say that, it is an abuse and they got all the right to go after this and all this stuff. Aside from that, is there a case to say you're spending so much money and among other people's time, resource, all this stuff too, probably not going to win. Stop doing that. Just stop doing that. Like go after the ones that are easy wins and they're actually bad people type thing. Is there a case for that here?
I think there definitely is a case because for all the folks that made it out to the oral arguments in November, we know there are at least 3 different SEC lawyers that are working on this, if not potentially dozens. So if you could free up human capital and stop them from working on cases that are probably not going anywhere and have really been only under the direction of the previous chair of the SEC, who is now gone, then that means that that's a lot of time wasted and a lot of time earmarked to be spent on this stuff when theoretically it could be allocated elsewhere. So yeah, I think there absolutely is a decent argument to make about, hey, pursuing this probably isn't the best idea. You should probably look elsewhere. And if that's the case, then that means that the SEC has a few options about how to proceed with the case. They can either just leave it as it is and then just let the judge rule on the motion to dismiss and then also potentially go to bench trial at some point in the future, or they could just straight up rescind the whole thing and just go back to the drawing board or just leave it. So those are the potential options from the SEC side of the house anyways.
Speaking of Judge Carroll as well, still haven't heard back anything official yet. Again, it was before everyone's like, new administration, Doge, will new things that are happening right now in the government affect the timeline, force us to think we'd like an answer on it. Before it's kind of like, yeah, maybe not, the kind of thing. Now, I don't know. I feel like is there a conspiracy around, all right, let's just see what the government's actually going to do. Like, are they going to just going to dismiss these cases? Like, maybe you don't want to rule on this because they're going to dismiss it anyways. Do you think that affects anything?
I've been looking into a little bit of this, and I think that I think Judge Carroll is very, very busy. I think she operates one of the busier federal courts up there on the Second Circuit in New York. But at the same time, yeah, it's been taking a hot minute. And we all thought that we probably would have gotten something between 60 and 90 days. Here we are, past 90 days, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. If anything, I think that all of the change and all of the new movement might be holding up certain things. At the same time, though, the judge absolutely has the ability to operate independently. She is her own. She has it is her domain. Whatever she wants to happen in her court, she will make it happen. She doesn't have to answer to anybody unless they try to impeach her, which, fun fact, they don't really ever try to impeach judges, just for the record. So we're really at her discretion and her schedule. And right now, it looks like her schedule is pretty busy. As far as everything going on with the government, it seems like a lot. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces. So the SEC could be making some moves about like rescinding stuff, but I actually have a quick screen share for you myself.
Let's go.
Just to give some context. So this is from Eleanor Tourette. She is a Fox Business contributor. She says, new on the SEC Gov pausing ongoing litigation against crypto firms. I'm told by multiple legal sources that the SEC has been prioritizing cases with imminent court deadlines, which is one of the explanation for why we haven't seen pause requests in the Ripple and Kraken FX cases. Ripple's next court deadline is April 16th, and it looks like Kraken's is March 31st. The Binance case has been put on ice until April 14th, LigileX until April 11th, and Coinbase plus SEC agreed to an extension on the deadline for an agency to respond to Coinbase's request to leave to file an interlocutory appeal until March 14th. It's possible for SEC leadership is expecting Donald Trump's pick for Paul Atkins to be on his way to getting confirmed by that time. In the interim, the Crypto Task Force, Congress, and the Presidential Working Group on Digital Assets are presumably working to fill regulatory gaps that led to these lawsuits being brought in the first place. So what we're seeing here from Eleanor is she's pretty much saying, hey, there's a lot of these crypto cases that have deadlines coming up. It seems that it's either getting paused or these ones are getting prioritized to kind of get this stuff resolved. But in the meantime, at the bottom here, we still don't have Paul Atkins in as the chair of the SEC. Paul Atkins was officially submitted by Donald Trump's team as his official pick for the SEC chair. At this present date, we still don't have him on the docket for the Senate Banking Committee about getting his initial committee hearing before we actually get the full-on Senate confirmation hearing. So he's not even on the docket yet, and largely because there's a lot of other people that are ahead of him. As much as it affects our lives or our digital lives on a daily basis, the SEC is kind of small bones compared to the rest of the stuff going on. Like I believe right now, Kash Patel is getting a lot of confirmation hearings going on for his position at the FBI. And then additionally, we just had Tulsi Gabbard getting in. We also had RFK Jr. getting in. We had Pete Hegseth getting in as Secretary of Defense. There's a lot of other people that are higher up on the priority list. So unfortunately, Paul Atkins is going to take a back seat. But I do imagine that once he gets in, he's going to start doing some good work. Until then, though, there's absolutely some hope out there because Hester Pierce is currently one of the people that is a chair at the SEC. Remember, there's 5 chairs. There's 1 head chair. The head chair is going to get confirmed by the Senate, but there are existing chairs. Gary Gensler stepped down. I believe we had another one that was up for reconfirmation last year, but that never actually happened. So I think we're looking at 3 chairs of the SEC right now. Hester Pierce is one of them. She actually released a phenomenal letter from the SEC about 2 weeks ago, I want to say, talking about how their proposals for how they're going to treat crypto moving forward. And it was actually very refreshing because some of the items in there, I know Nuclear Herbs and I were both retweeting quotes from that, but one of them was literally Hester Pierce saying, like, yes, the government is not your parents. We're not going to bail you out of every bad situation you make. You have the freedom to make good or bad decisions. The responsibility is yours. And personally, that's very refreshing to hear from the SEC, who's been trying to just be like the nanny state and try to sue everyone into compliance over the last few years. So do we have our people in? No. Either resolving the cases we want them to resolve? No. Is there still good hope and we do still have some allies fighting for us in the meantime? Absolutely yes.
Will we win? Absolutely yes. I like the last 2. Those 2 are good. Good. Real quick too, I just wanted to this one came on my radar as well. So do you think the DDS, the deranged Doge syndrome, will die down as well? Because it just seems like, Gerardo here, 300 likes with 17 million followers, writing bad articles about Doge and making, being against the government being more efficient. It seems less popular than maybe some thought it would be.
I think this is twofold right here. First off, this is ABC News with 17 million followers getting only 300 likes on a post. This is absolutely the death of the legacy media, formerly called the mainstream media. No longer mainstream. It is the legacy media now. And I think the stats show, which is that people just saw it and scrolled past it. Very, very few people engaged with it. If anything, way more people commented on it instead of liking it, which is not a good sign on Twitter. Outside of that, though, DDS, or the Elon derangement syndrome, I think it is a new phenomenon. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And I think that as long as Elon is going to be doing what he's doing, people are going to be very upset about it, and for very weird and strange reasons. So I believe there was a clip of Chuck Schumer out in front of the press. He's talking about how Elon is running amok, and he's like, what are they going to target next? The IRS? How could they possibly do that? And there's this like, oh no, not the IRS. Don't definitely do that. That would be just the worst.
What if they were underfunded? What if they took less money from people? What's next? What's next?
Yeah, there's a great irony on the optics
strange
going on right now, which is that people are complaining about Elon Musk doing the audit and having his team of young guns, very small team, by the way, going in, moving fast, breaking things. That is what you need. It's what you need to accomplish this kind of thing. Because if you get stuck up in the process and you get stuck up on picking captains and teams like it's dodgeball, you will never get anywhere. You will get bogged down. Opposition will stop you, that kind of stuff. So Elon understands this. It's very apparent from his acquisition over at Twitter, where they had a literal 75+% reduction in workforce. Everything operated fine, and they've turned it into the most profitable it's ever been. It's stuff like that. So people are upset that he's auditing, but at the same time, it's a great irony where it's like people are like, oh, this is corruption. He can't audit us. It's like, oh, you don't want us to look at what you've been doing? That makes me want to look at what you've been doing even more. And I think the American public is also catching on to this, which is like, these people are fighting so hard against us opening up the books and seeing what's going on that it really shows that there's a lot more underneath the surface than people have expecting for the last 20 years. Because I think that's really been the expansion of the federal agencies and the bureaucracy that has become the unofficial fourth branch of power, in my personal opinion. And Donald Trump is taking the power back. And I think it's a great thing. And by the way, Elon Musk is not a government official. He's literally just like a consultant or like an advisor to the president. And then the president says, hey, I'm using my power to give it to you to go do this. Go find out what you want. Come back to me, and then I'll sign off on it. That's pretty much all it is.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. That's let's see how many movie puns we can get in this show as well. There's a few. You mentioned dodgeball. My brain goes straight to that movie. Great movie. Shout out to that movie. Yeah, it is strange, and you think it's just been so much built up over time that nobody can really function at a rational level on the side that is getting on, like all the information. It's just like the bureaucracy over bureaucracy over bureaucracy over and over and over, and there's just no way to even look up and be like, no, wait, what are we doing? Why the audit's good? Audits make sure we're doing good. Like, audit's not bad. Audits reveal, what we need to fix, type of thing. And it's just, I don't know. Are we going to fix this in 2 years, 4 years? Is 2025 really going to shake things up that way?
If 2025 continues the way it's going right now, this is going to be one of the most consequential years in the 21st century, I think. Like this, I know I was on the camp even before the election talking about how it kind of feels like we really have like one last shot to course correct for the country before we really go off that debt cliff, and the interest on payments just goes absolutely critical and starts overtaking a good chunk of the budget. And I was skeptical. I still am slightly skeptical, because the amount of money that Doge is cutting it's phenomenal for sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, but at the same time, for the people that understand the math, the mandatory spending is really what is going to get the country in trouble. The discretionary spending, which what we're cutting here, it's only like maybe 20% of the budget. So you got to get the mandatory spending under control. At the same time, though, the main impact of what this is doing is not just the financial, it's the power and it's the corruption that is being exposed. Because what we've seen, especially with the USAID program, was that a lot of these government programs were literally just kickbacks to just random projects that are political buddies with whoever got them appointed. So that's where you see like money go into all these just like weird DEI causes in foreign countries. Like there was like $36,000 sent to Peru to write a transgender superhero comic book. It's like, why? Hear me out. I want you to go and find the 23 enumerated powers in the Constitution and point to the one in there that says the federal government has the authority to do that. Like, please just go find it for me, because I can't find it. And I'm sure other people are also coming up with a blank here.
But they found a way to do it. So you got to give them credit for being clever over time. Is it just that? Is it like literally they're like, this is just the way we do things? And, somebody comes in, they're like, that's not a good way to do it. We're going to stop doing that. And then it's just this, there is no compromise. There is just this wall up from the other side. It's like, no, we got to, whatever ridiculous thing, if we, it's just, every time I see a criticism, it's just ridiculous. Like there's no criticism. Like, be more efficient. This is how you get more efficient. You got the richest man in the world and probably one of the smartest ones helping you out. Just go with it for once. Jeez.
Oh, for sure. One of my my favorite dumb criticisms that's been happening lately is people are worried about Elon Musk getting access to personal like financial information. And it's like, you realize he was helping run PayPal for a long time. Like if A, he doesn't need your money. He has all the money in the world. 2, if he wanted your information, he would already have your information. So no. But I think you did have a very good point there, which is that, is it being clever? Is it the way we always done things? It's kind of this like dirty little secret that a lot of people don't really think about. Because a lot of the hallmarks of government actions is that there's forms and bureaucracy, but at the same time, someone has to write those. When you first come up with an idea or you first come up with an action, there are no forms, there is no bureaucracy. You have to create it all yourself. So what that means is that when you're operating at the highest levels of government, you're really kind of just like shooting from the hip and then just playing it by ear. And then anything that comes as a result of that becomes the established norm and the established process. So when it comes to stuff like how do you establish a Doge, you just say you're going to do it and you tell a guy to go do it. There's no official process or anything. And it's stuff like that that's been going on for the last, honestly, 100 years at this point, which is that government has always been firing from the hip whenever they come up with executive actions and executive orders, which is that it's really just up to the will and the finding the way to do whatever you want to try to accomplish. And that's what we've seen for a large part of the 21st century, which is that the president kind of just comes with the directive and just sends it and then sees if it sticks or if it works out or not. And then you just run from there. So is it clever that people were able to come up with ways to create all these incentive programs and all these bills and all these foreign aid kind of packages for people? It's like, sure. But at the same time, the bill will come due at some point, and it's looking like it's coming due now when we're pulling out the magnifying glass for inspection.
It is. I don't think people realize how just lucky we are to like that. We talked about it before. Live in this timeline. We live in this timeline. This actually happened. They created a government agency called Doge. Elon's heading it, and they're actually saving money and doing stuff and going full throttle into it. Now we have AI to like help speed all these things up. Some stuff probably couldn't even happen before. Like all the advances in tech we've had recently have actually made a lot of stuff even possible that we could even do a ton in this year and onward. So I think first is just, I'm always like, wow, I can't believe this actually happened. Every time I see it, it's like too good to be true type of thing. We're at the right time, the right moment.
It feels like that a lot lately.
It's like, wait, is this actually happening? Wow, this is amazing. Just Doge in general, like the ideal of that actually happening in the government in this modern day is just amazing. And then their ability to, what can they get done? Like, what can they do? There's a season of wasteful spending, and maybe there's a season of let's not wasteful spend. And it doesn't mean that money printer won't go burr. It doesn't mean that, all these other things. I'm not sure how much this will tie in inflation and everything else. And the Fed's doing what they're doing as well. But it's time to, I feel like the best thing, there's so many, it's kind of like, Richard got all these tricks up his sleeve. I think Doge and Elon and all the people working on it, all the extremely smart and talented people working on this stuff. There's so many things that like this, the whole stimulus checks deal. That is such a genius way of doing it. We're going to save money and then we're going to give it back to people. How will people not, like the whole idea of, if I'll vote for you if you give me money, you've made it into this like healthy system of like, oh, we're going to give you money back. Maybe we're going to give you money back that we were spending, unfairly and stuff too. So I just think that's a huge, sales trick that I think is just amazing if it actually happened. I didn't even thought about it before, but I feel like all those little things we may see more trickling out this year as well. That just like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. But you're going to counter it. Counter it. I want to see it.
It's some good salesmanship for sure. I'm kind of opposed just because you're bribing people with their own money that was forcibly taken from them.
I'm fundamentally
so on that regard, it's like, how about no? But also, I'm optimistic. That would be fantastic optics. That would be like the biggest win, like PR wise. And if anybody understands its PR, it's Donald Trump and Elon Musk working together. Like, that one makes sense. But
I just want to preface real quick. I'm not saying I like people getting stimulus checks. I don't want stimulus checks either. However, I know a lot of people do, and it is like this like quintessential like textbook give people money and like we got to get past the midterms type of thing.
Oh, for sure.
If that happens, that's a good thing for them.
Whenever we have conversations, it's the classic Thomas Sowell thing. Whenever you're talking about economics, there's no positives. It's all trade-offs. So when I try to analyze the stuff like this, it's like the purism or the ideological, then you have the practical, and then you have the reality on the ground, which is that from the ideological side or the philosophic, yes, I think that stimulus checks are not a great concept. From the practical, I understand the effect and what it can do for an optics side. And then the reality on the ground is that it's also going to have to get approved by Congress. And chances are that's probably not going to happen. But if anything, it could happen right now, mainly because the Republican Party does control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And it appears that they do have the stomach to go for a lot of the stuff right now. I will say that's one of the refreshing things is that one of the complaints I've heard from people that identified as Republicans in the past, including myself, is that it felt like the party was just controlled opposition and they never made any bold moves and they never did anything they said they were going to do. It was like, oh, you just want to keep talking about these issues instead of solving them. Well, we now have someone that actually just cares about solving issues instead of talking about them. So it's quite refreshing, and that's something that's been giving me hope. But as far as what's going on with like, why is everyone so focused on Elon right now? Well, you see, they're pulling a rush hour 2, which is follow Chris Tucker, I think, says follow the white man, follow the money, find the crime.
Nice reference.
There you go.
We're
following the money right now. Exactly. Great movie. We're following the money right now to try to find the underlying crime or crime. It's not really crime. It's just fraud and just wasteful spending effectively.
It's not really crime. It's just fraud, waste, abuse, taking money away from other things it could have been used for, probably resulting in higher taxes at some point. There's probably a lot of conclusions we could draw from it. However, not crime. Yes, go ahead.
I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt here. It's like, it's technically above board because it was all out in the open and all signed off on by people. Doesn't mean it's still not good. I'm not putting a moral judgment on it. But yeah, it got signed off on by multiple people. There was someone that kind of just was like, yeah, sure, I'll pay $1 million for this weird program thing because like we totally need it. Wink. But one of the things that's been interesting is the US aid stuff came out about how multiple government agencies or even like thousands of employees inside of agencies had these like high elite premium level subscriptions to news services, and then they were paying like $16,000 a month for this elite access that was no different than just normal access. It's like, okay, wow, this is just straight kickbacks. It's like you are just choosing to effectively give these people money.
And I wonder if those people would write nicer stories about you if such thing happened. I wonder.
Well, one of the ideas I've heard is that it's actually a ploy to implement political power, which is like, it goes to the stimulus check idea, which is that if you can kind of get someone hooked or dependent on a source of cash flow coming in, then theoretically, if you threaten that cash flow, then you could have some sort of leverage or control over the person that is dependent on it. So if you get a news agency really used to you spending $100,000 a month on this weird elite level access, and you threaten to take it away unless they start writing articles that are a little more favorable about you. See what I'm getting at here?
We need our what is it? You have like your own account manager. We need to tell our account manager that we're thinking about going to a different newspaper. We wouldn't want to pull our corporate subscription. Would you? Yeah. I'm gonna get to a couple of the comments here too. That this is funny. SEC has persecuted the entire PulseChain community, which is mostly Americans, and forced many of us into a chilling effect, just like they did with so many MAGA Republicans. We're almost entirely Trump supporters. Please look into the SEC versus Richard Hart case and kill it. Straight to the point.
I will say I understand the argument, but this one does feel it's like a catch-22, which is that a lot of Hexagons and the PulseChain community are Americans. But at the same time, we also have a very large international audience as well. And that was on display when we had the oral arguments as well, which is that there were people from many different countries that came from all over the world to New York City just to be in that courthouse. And the SEC almost walked into a trap when they're like, why don't we ask the peanut gallery back there where they're from? And then everyone looks around at each other like, it's about to be pretty international up in here, and they're trying to claim we're Americans, so it's going to backfire on them.
Yeah, no, I think this was mostly like the keywords of, hey, we're with the party that's doing this type of thing.
For sure.
What if they did kill it though? What if they did kill it? What if say we get lucky, our time comes up. What if they did kill it?
There's lucky and more lucky on this one. Lucky would be killing it. More lucky would be dismissing it with prejudice, which means that you cannot bring it back up in the court of law. So if you dismiss this thing with prejudice, it means this is done, resolved, get it out of here. If you just dismiss it, it has the ability to resurface at some point in the future. So those are kind of two options for that one. But overall, dude, if they killed it, go look at the XRP price. When XRP had their last major win, in the course of like 28 days, they did a 6x.
Wow. A lot
That's
of people don't think
XRP,
a 6x is even possible. We're just trying to get past SAC price right now. Don't tempt us with a 6x. Jeez. We're trying to get a SAC price.
I feel you, brother.
But can you imagine the tweet, the next tweet from Doge SEC? It's like, okay, we saw there were so many sham cases here from the SEC, and we've been spending, I don't know, $12 million in lawyers every day for the past 3 years. The previous administration has been going after, and it starts listing all the people. It's like, whatever, Kraken, Coinbase, blah, 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 over and over and over. And it's like Richard Hart, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait, did they kill it? And then maybe that's like, who knows if we get 6x, 600x, like, man, that would be a cool. I want to see that tweet. I'd like to see that tweet, Doge SEC, about getting rid of sham cases and including Richard Hart in that case as well.
That would be
we can dream,
cool.
Let's dream for a moment. Let's dream.
We absolutely can. And honestly, it's not just dreaming, which is that we've seen this like trail of breadcrumbs that are leading us to what we believe is the beautiful conclusion that we're looking for. But it's all the stuff like Trump winning the election, Gary Gensler resigning, Paul Atkins being nominated for the SEC chair, the executive orders talking about how the presidency is wrangling back executive control of the executive agencies. All this kind of stuff, and even the executive actions on crypto, the letters from inside the SEC from Hester Pierce. There's so many little breadcrumbs, and it's very easy to maybe gaslight yourself a little too much into believing it's all good news. But at the same time, it's like, this is a clear trend. This is clear direction, and things are all pointing in the same direction, which is that crypto's going to be set free. It's going to be welcomed back to the United States shores. And a lot of this stuff is going to get cleared up because they're trying to simplify and eliminate and reduce. And this seems like a prime candidate for all of that.
Reduced waste and abuse. There are a lot of cases. I'm sure, again, we're in this. You talked about XRP before. I mean, there's a ton of crypto companies, founders, and I'm sure there's some of them that are actually, okay, this is, there's maybe some wrongdoing on some of the other ones. And hey, that's the whole idea. Let's go after the ones that deserve it and leave the ones alone that don't. But PulseChain is not the drone you're looking for. Boom, got Star Wars in there too. Shout out to crypto, Khalid on crypto here. Public would appreciate the SEC case against Richard Hart and 3 blockchain entities. Every time I see that it's 3 blockchain, it always cracks me up. Like, why? Why is it that? Why are those entities included? Where do those entities live? Richard Hart did not create an unregistered security. It doesn't even pass the Howey test. Sacrifice phase is not an illegal ICO. It's a sacrifice, an expression, freedom of speech, freedom of movement. You shouldn't be able to sue smart contracts that are effectively compiled assembly code, autonomous, permissionless, decentralized. 44,000 people signed a petition stating we are not victims of fraud. I'm confident Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing what's right for the people. It's about time we have them off this. Shout out to them for being based.
Don Jr. being based.
Well, who was it? Was it Eric or Don Jr. that was very favorable on
They're both very pro crypto folks.
Yeah. Well, specifically, I think a lot of people in the community are interested in and who is going to pump Ethereum bags because we have some Ethereum wells out there as well. But who knows when we're.
That's a whole nother conversation about Vitalik kind of getting his crap together. And
Vitalik,
by the way, Richard Hart did have a very good tweet about that exact thing where he's like, hey, start incentivizing your people to pump your own price instead of just giving it away to the L2s for free.
Did Richard Hart tell Vitalik to get together and start price go up? Did he mention that would be probably a thing Ethereum holders would like? Be
shocker. People holding the thing like it when it performs well.
Did somebody make a pump tires Doge? Of course, I could see that.
Sure.
What else? Have you seen any good commentary? I'm just kind of scrolling through different ones, but I know a ton of people have commented and DM. I can imagine. It's got to be hundreds of comments and DMs Doge SEC has gotten from our community in particular. I'm going to go on a limb and say there's probably more from us than any other community. Do you think that's plausible? I think so.
I think there's a good chance. I think we also do need to kind of take it with a big grain of salt, which is that your Twitter feed is customized for you. Therefore, when you're looking at other people's tweets and all the replies, they try to prioritize people that you recognize, which means that theoretically the algorithm is going to try to prioritize other Hexkins that you're following or have interacted with in the past at the top of the list for all the stuff. Because right now, that one, the Twitter post we're looking at has 10,000 replies to it. So looking even at just like the first 20 is probably not even going to give you a good representative sample of what's going on out there.
I think there's a way to do this. So the nerd in me just like, there's got to be a tool that can download a single tweet and all the replies to it. And then you just use the AI and be like, tell me which tweets mention Hex or PulseChain or Richard Hart. And then tell me how many of them those are. And then give me the percentage of the replies to the tweet. So we would know. We can't do DMs obviously like that, but when the replies, I don't know, man, I'm going with, you think we got 1,000? I think I would say we at least got 10%. Or there got to be at least 1,000 people from our community that have commented on that. Something to do with Richard Hart.
I can see that.
I'm gonna go with at least 10%.
Got to go leave.
Pump those numbers up. Then 20%.
Oh, get out there and say, I'm doing my part.
Yeah. Don't say anything else. Just say, stop PulseChain persecution. Smiley face. It could
stop bad cases. Fire these clowns at the SEC, please.
Billionaire man good. And you can, whichever billionaire you like. This one's short and simple. RH versus SEC cases. Yes. With this nice little PulseChain ecosystem deal. You got the layer one, you got the store value, you got the DEX token. You also got the incentive token. A lot of people like that one as well. I'm not going to go down the list. There's here trivia question. How many RH coins are there right now, Zenith?
I think
what is the correct answer?
The simple answer is 5. The correct answer is more than that, depending on how many tokens he launched on pump.tires. So theoretically, we have Pulse. Oh, actually, do we have 6? Pulse, PulseX, incentive token, P-Hex, E-Hex, pump.tires.
Well, some pump.tires would that for tokens, that would be the most token, or that's the one people are including? Or are you just saying pump.tires as a platform?
Pump.tires has a token, doesn't it?
Oh, so it's that. Okay, so you're saying that one. Really? I mean, the only one, I would say the only one Richard has tweeted about more than once would be Most, right? If you were to include a meme coin in those.
Those ones are speculative, in my opinion. So that's part of the advanced category where you have to start figuring out and tracking wallet addresses to see where they originated from. And if it's,
you said pump.tire, so that's why I mentioned some people are saying unofficially. I mean, the ones that Richard has created would be those, the first 5 you mentioned, but there's speculation outside of that, especially when he keeps tweeting about it and stuff too. And E-Hex that's another one.
I'm like 99% sure that there is a pump.tires token because I'm looking at it on Dex Screener.
I'm pretty sure there is too. I don't know.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but I guess the idea was which one were you putting in the category of being RH token? Because
there you go.
Would it be both? I don't know. That's an interesting one too. What?
I mean, I think the core 5 still are the main products, so to speak. So
right. Yeah, I mean that's where again you could talk about EHEX versus PHEX. That's a whole conversation too. I don't want to see hex cheap on any chain. I'll say that. Even ETH Fair. How's ETH Fair going? Did you keep up with that?
I have not been keeping up with that. What is that?
Yeah, you know about the ETH Fair when Pulse was it? Hold on. Yeah, so the first fork. You don't remember that? The first fork that happened. The first Ethereum fork. There was two chains. Those two hard forks from that, ETH Fair and ETH POW. I think ETH Fair was maybe it was the proof of stake one. I'm not sure. Where it was just still proof of work, and the ETH POW was proof of work. So those two forks before the big forked, but before PulseChain forked from Ethereum. And so Hex was copied on those two platforms as well. And then so people were on there speculating about, oh, well, Hex, he said he didn't want to see cheap Hex on any chain. Will these do well? Will these be supported? And all that stuff too. So there's like there's Hex on these other chains that still exist, and people probably accumulate a lot of it at a very cheap price, thinking it will go up in the future.
Look, it's true. And I got to give a shout out to our friend Axis. He taught me a very important lesson by showing me some data, which is that if there is a token that is under the sun, people will try to trade it. There was a point at the last cycle where Ethereum Classic pumped harder than Ethereum proper for a very small, brief amount of time, but it technically did more X's in a shorter amount of time. And he's like, people will trade anything. Do not doubt it.
There was a short period of time that EHEX, after PulseChain launch, was worth more than PX, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what can happen? Who knows what will happen there? I don't think this one's shared enough, honestly. Like whoever made this, I don't see the name on here, but shout out to them. Actually, is this just a screenshot from the website? Maybe it is. Maybe it's website. So whoever screenshotted it, shout out as well. I think that's what it is. The former website, the website's not up anymore. RichardHart.com, not up. There is a mirror of it, richardhart.cc. But it really, I mean, it tells a good story. It tells what the guy's about. Again, I think it bears repeating just the things that he is about, what he's working on, what he's here for. Richard retired before crypto, wants to make an impact in the world, wants to be one of the greatest men. I think he wants to be one of the greatest men ever. And even outside of crypto with longevity and everything else. So that's why this community is so passionate, aside the fact that everyone has money in it and they want number to go up. That's why everyone wants, I think the whole world should want us to win. Like this is a much better, fairer, greater vision of what can be good in the world. And, true DeFi and, a place to give yourself a chance. You can come from nothing and make it, all this stuff too. There's so many great narratives in these stories and things that, that this guy spends time on. So shout out to Richard Hart. And it sucks when people who are trying to do great things, similar to Elon, similar to Trump, similar to whoever else some of your heroes are, they're trying to do some amazing stuff out there. They get hate, they get persecuted, they get, whatever stuff they have to go through. And it sucks. I mean, the last few years, again, it sucks for us not being able to see him stream and all that stuff. Imagine for him, the person at the end of it, getting these, cases and stuff like that too. So anyways, just wanted to say, I know we're always like zooming in on all these different things. It's good to zoom out and be like, again, why are you here in the community?
For sure.
Make money?
Believe me, as the guy that
cool.
reads court documents for fun, apparently. It's very easy to get like hyper focused and hyper tunnel visioned in on very small things. I will say, Max, I think you're absolutely onto something today. However, I think you might be suffering from being a little ahead of the market, so to speak, which is that obviously you and I have been following the Richard Hart SEC case for a long time at this point. And I think you and I have also been keeping an eye on all the Doge and all the presidential activity going on this year. It's been coming fast too. I just don't think we've quite connected all the dots yet between like Trump, Doge, SEC, Richard Hart. I think we're close. I think we're damn close. But we just need one or two more of those little breadcrumbs to get us the rest of the way. Because if we actually get confirmation that Doge takes a look at the case, that's a winner right there. If we actually get a result from Judge Amont or Judge Carroll in the second district, That's another breadcrumb. Boom, immediate win. And then also at the same time, if we get Paul Atkins installed at the SEC, I think that's another one that's like a very quick, easy win that's going to start connecting those dots and finishing that route. We're so close. For the folks at home that have ever played Ticket to Ride, we got the route card that's like Seattle to New York City, and we just got like one little section left. We just got to finish that off, and we got it. But as of right now, it's still missing. All the indicators are pointing to that it should be coming soon, especially considering people are moving very fast on this, but we're not there just yet. So keep pushing, stay vigilant, and absolutely go blow up that the DMs of that SEC Doge account.
Yes, be nice, be friendly, be accurate. Make them think nice things of us, and show them some good stuff. Yeah, no matter what you're here for, to make money, to be part of the community, to do great things, to build, to just watch the show for today. Appreciate you as well. That's all
Absolutely.
we got. Zenith?
Well, before I go, I do have one.
I knew it. I was like, there's
one final receipt to show people.
So my cue is, I'm going to say we're wrapping up, and then Zenith's like, but there's more. And I like it. Let's do it.
All right, folks, I alluded to this earlier in the show. I just want to bring this up real quick so we all understand what the game that we're playing is. So this is the federal budget in fiscal year 2023, FY23, as it will. Fiscal year start in October, by the way. So we have mandatory spending, discretionary spending, and interest. So overall, we spent $6.1 trillion. That's a good chunk of change. 3.8 trillion of that, with a T, 3.8 trillion of that was mandatory spending. This is stuff that was already scheduled, already in effect, and will continue to be in effect unless changes are made. We have Social Security coming in at $1.3 trillion. We have Medicare at $839 billion. Medicaid at $616 billion. Income security programs, $448 billion, and other at $500 billion. We have discretionary. We have non-defense spending at $917 billion, and then defense spending at $805 billion. So when people say that we spend way too much money on the military, yeah, there's some plausibility to it. Personally, I think that the defense spending is very, very necessary, especially in the world that we live in, where we are the single biggest defense spender by far. And
but if we get everyone else to reduce spending, maybe we won't. That's like, anyways, current nuance. That's the idea.
A little bit, yeah. We need people to spend more on, especially NATO allies, to spend more of their GDP on defense. But these three right here, these are the big three: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Those are mandatory spending programs that are driving the vast, vast, vast majority of all of the spending from the government. So whenever we're talking about the non-discretionary stuff, we're fighting over this little 1.7 trillion, and that also includes defense. So we're fighting over this 1.7 trillion. We are ignoring the 3.8 trillion. Just remember which one of those is a lot bigger than the other. If you're very serious about getting out of debt for the country and actually reducing our total expenditures, we're going to have to take a look at those programs at some point in the future. I personally have already written off Social Security, as I will never see a dime of that. I'm about 30 years old right now, and I've already written it off, which is that every time they take money on my paycheck, I will never see that again. I'm not kidding myself. It's not getting put in a lockbox. It's not getting put in the S&P 500. It is getting redistributed to other people in the program as it stands right now.
What if they bought Bitcoin with it? What if they bought Bitcoin with Social Security?
Well, if they did, then that would be actually a different change in the program, because they would no longer just be spending my money, but actually saving my money, which was the original illusion or trick that they pulled to try to get people to go along with the program. But
it's 2045, and Zenith is drawing Social Security from within it. They're sending you lightning payments, like a little bit of lightning here and there each month.
No. As it stands right now, I believe Social Security is set to go insolvent in the year 2032, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not saying it's going to go bankrupt and like completely fall apart, but things are going to have to happen, which is we're either going to have to increase taxes on it to keep up with the cost of it, or people that are drawing on it are going to start drawing less, and their benefits are going to get reduced. Neither of these scenarios are good, in my opinion. So I hope that we come up with a fix, and it's going to take some stomach to do it. But again, it goes back to the stimulus check idea that we talked about earlier, which is once you get people on stuff, it's very, very hard to get them off of it. Social Security, prime example. Theoretically, if you just let people keep their Social Security and put it in the S&P 500 over the amount of time, it would have like 5 or 6x their performance instead of the amount that they receive. It would have gotten like literally 5 times as much. So food for thought. That is the receipt that I brought for today.
Receipts like receipts. 2023. Looking forward to this year. What do you want to take us out on, Zenith? What's good? What's hopeful? What's bearish? What's bullish? Let me hear it.
What's hopeful is that, how about this? Donald Trump actually signed an executive order yesterday called Ensuring Accountability for All Agencies, where he pretty much says that as the executive, I will effectuate executive power, which actually is something called the unitary executive theory, saying that the president is in charge of the executive branch. This is one of the original checks and balances built into the Constitution and the original powers of the presidency when wielded effectively. People are getting upset right now because it's a lot more power than they anticipated because we've delegated so much of that power from Congress to executive agencies. So if this is the Lord of the Rings reference here, where we have created the One Ring and now we're trying to figure out how to use it. It can either be used for good or evil. But the point is, once you make the One Ring, it can fall into the hands of people you like or you don't like. So we should probably go throw that thing in Mountain Dew. And right now it seems like we have the stomach to curve it back.
Maybe we make price go up and then we throw it in Mountain Dew.
Correct, exactly. We gotta pull the Thanos move, which is we get the stones, we use the stones, and then we use the stones to destroy the stones.
Do you work for the Doge? That Doge, if you're hiring, we got some big brains in the community, and fun stuff. Anyways, that's all we got for you today. Zenith, DGen Roundtable, your other channel I keep forgetting.
Walk the block, baby.
Twitter. Walk the block.
Walk the block, right. Navigating digital finance. We actually covered the letter from Hester Pierce the other day, talking about the nice little treats in there, talking about how they're looking to curb in the SEC's jurisdictional authority and actually delegate authority where they don't have jurisdiction, and talk about how they're not trying to be a nanny state. All that stuff was beautiful. But yeah, folks, you can find me over at DGen Roundtable. This week we're actually covering a book called, on Friday, we're covering a book called Pirate Money, talking about how fiat currency is terrible. Shocker. And there are alternatives that are actually built into the United States legal system as it stands right now for, theoretically, states to start issuing their own backed currencies, such as a Bitcoin-backed or a gold-backed currency. So this is what we got going on over at DGen Roundtable. Walk the block on Mondays, 8 p.m. That's our more professional, manicured service where we try to keep it tight, concise, and right to the point. And distinguished investor at the end of Zenith on X.com. That's all we got. That's right. That's all we got. Just wait and see if there's anything else. That's all we got. 3 seconds. 3, 2. All right. That's all we got for you today. Scivive and 5555. We are out.